Hello, Flo. I'm so happy that you're here on my podcast. We met in Bali a few weeks ago, and it's so interesting all the conversations we have. And it was really important for me that we can share this to the world. So thank you very much for accepting to come here and to share all that you have to share. And welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much. Yeah, great to see you again.
Yeah.
Very happy to be here. Always happy when I get an invitation like this. And yeah, very curious what you're gonna ask me, what is this gonna be about. And yeah, just great having a chat with you again.
Yeah, we had really profound conversation about many topics, but today I wanted to talk about what you do in life. It's to impact men. You talk about emotion, you talk about relationships, and we'll see that together. But maybe you can start if you want to introduce yourself.
Of course, yeah. So I work as a men therapist, which means my clients are men, obviously. So, and the mission that I have is empowering men to master their relationships through mastering their emotions and their masculine energy. So basically, if you want to have a fulfilling relationship, which we all want, you need to master the relationship with yourself first. So yeah, that's the brief version. I think we kind of have time to talk about details, but it's kind of roughly the mission statement that I have. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So you described yourself as a man therapist, and the first question I had is why did you choose to focus on men? Because in this wellness industry, most of the clients may be women. We are really interested in connecting in their emotion, in being in this kind of personal development. So why and yeah, why did you choose to work with men?
Yeah. So first of all, because it's necessary, because we need more men also to do this kind of work. Um, and because I'm a man myself, so I have been very shut down emotionally. I have not been happy in my relationships before, and a similar work that I provide now with the hypnotherapy is what got me out of it. So imagine me like some maybe 5 years ago, completely disconnected from my emotions, and my life quality was really, yeah, suffering from that because you cannot have fulfillment if you're disconnected from your heart space, from your body, from your emotional centers. So I used to be a math teacher, mathematics. So I used to be only in the mind, and I just know from my personal experience now how important it is to wake up more men and help them because it's just not so available. Yeah, for us men, it's not so available that someone is guiding us towards emotional mastery. So that is I think the main point, like my own experience and my own journey. That's yeah that I can provide. And I like also working with women. I have done it. Um, but the man's brain, it works a bit different. So the challenges of a man I can relate to much more than a woman. And yeah, you mentioned the wellness industry. So I think one part of this whole thing, like why there is not so many men doing the work, is that it's not available.
Hmm.
That most therapists are just not encouraging men to show up. And another thing that I feel is that many men have that lone wolf, I call it, yeah, the lone wolf mindset,
Yeah.
that you have to figure out everything by yourself, and you cannot be weak, and you cannot show any signs of emotions and all that. So it's really brave. It's really brave for men to show up in therapy in the first place. There's many men who would benefit from it, but there's always this spooky thing about like, oh my god, now I'm a failure. Yeah, I have to tell people that I started therapy, and the vulnerability that lies in that. Many men are just not ready to do that, and I try to lead by example because everyone even the best therapist ever, like I do my own sessions still. So it's everyone can benefit from therapy. And I'm not talking about like super urgent cases. Like having that safe space where you can just discover yourself, we are never done growing. So it's something that everyone could do, you know. So I highly encourage people, and men in specific, to not be too shy about it, and just get in touch with a therapist. With me, for instance, like most therapists, they offer the first session for free anyway, so you can just go over that barrier and reach out and just start getting out of that bubble of trying to do everything by yourself. I think that's really important.
Yes. Thank you very much for all your sharings, because I think it's really important. You talk about men, but in general, we all need therapy. I think all humans should go to therapy. And when you talk, there is something that I wanted to ask you. Maybe your path. How did you start to interest about this topic, and how did you start the work? Because you are a man too. So what was the trigger for you to say, okay, I want to go over this I'm a lone wolf, etc., and do the work?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to answer. I just couldn't keep it up anymore. I think when you get this push from the universe of like, okay, you hit rock bottom and you just don't know what to do anymore, and then there is no alternative. Yeah, and that was I wish. I mean, I needed that, but I wish that again for other people to make that step of starting to work on themselves with someone. I wish for more people to do that before they just don't have any alternative. I mean, in many cases, many of my clients are in that kind of same position, that they try over maybe 10 years to get better with certain things, and they just get more and more disappointed and lonely in that work, and also lose the what's that word in English? The belief. Like they stop believing in themselves because they're trying hard. I was also trying hard, you know, like for more than 10 years, I was reading every book about self-development that you can imagine. There's even books with titles like The Happiness Equation, which was for me as a mathematician, like a really cool title. And I was like, okay, if I just follow all these steps, then I'm gonna be happy. Yeah. And I find it super, toxic. There's so many books that promise if you just do this, you're gonna be happy, you know, and we all want to be more happy. But I had like, until I had to face it, I had no idea about the trauma that I have, you know, and there's so much misunderstanding about what trauma is. And basically all of us have it in some way or another. I can, if you like, I can talk about it later in more detail, because this is a myth, an urban myth, what trauma is, that we really have to address. And so to make it short, in my own healing journey, I was really hitting rock bottom. I was overworked, so I had a burnout. I was depressed. I couldn't sleep anymore. I was anxious all the time, like all the typical symptoms, and I just didn't know anything else that I could do. You know, I was working out. I was running. I tried to have a healthy lifestyle. I had like a lot of control. You know, a lot of healthy habits, you would call it, but I couldn't go to the root cause because I didn't know that you can work directly on your emotions and on the beliefs that are causing these emotions. And when I met my friend and mentor Charlotte, who is my teacher for the hypnotherapy that I'm doing, that was a blessing, because she invited me into her program as a case study, so I could experience therapy for the first time in my life. So I went straight for hypnotherapy, which is, in my perception, the most profound therapy out there, because you don't only treat superficial levels, you go all the way down to the subconscious mind. And so through experiencing that myself and feeling the benefits and the results, I dedicated my life to it. Basically, I was coming out of that journey, and after like 1 year, 2 years, I was like forming that idea of, maybe I can do this kind of work myself. I feel kind of attracted to it, but I have a safe job, you know, like I was really earning good money with the business I have created, teaching mathematics. And it took me a while to adapt, but at some point I was like, okay, that's it. I'm just gonna commit to this. I canceled all the other businesses that I had, and I just said, okay, I'm gonna fully go in and become a therapist and coach full time. And I've not been regretting this ever since. Like I just love my work and the program that I did with Charlotte, because I then became her student, as I said. It's amazing. So I'm very happy. Does it answer your question, or did I forget something?
Yes, it's really interesting because as you described it, you had the perfect life on paper. Like you were doing the sport, etc., and you should be happy. You should have been happy, but it was not the case. And it's interesting your reflection to say maybe it's something about the roots, but I'm not aware about this. And then you choose to do the work. So yeah, it's very interesting. And something else pop when you talked is that your mentor is Charlotte. I don't know her yet, but it's a woman. And
yes,
so my next question was about your the figure you have being a man. So do you think it's something that it's more that men feel more comfortable going to a man, or like you did, or maybe it doesn't change anything? So what is your position about the fact that you're a man addressing a man, sorry.
I think it really depends on the person. Like for me personally, the first two therapists that I had were women, and then I had also a couple of sessions with a man, and I felt it completely different, and it gave me different qualities, let's say. And depending on your predisposition, like where you come from, it might be at times helpful to have a woman or a man therapist, like no matter if you're a woman or a man yourself, right?
Yes.
So it's really about the gut feeling, let's say. And me personally, I had a hard time trusting men, like just from the story that I have. Yeah, for me, it was much more easy to open emotionally to women. And it took me a while in my healing journey to understand that I'm missing certain masculine qualities, yeah, like maybe fatherly energy that my female therapist couldn't provide in the way that was really necessary for me to grow out of certain patterns. So I had this journey of like discovering that I actually needed also a man, for me as a therapist, as a kind of a role model in a way. And again, like men understand men better, women understand women better, I would say in general. So what the question was like, why
The question was like about the fact that you're a man. Do you think it's easier for men? And about your position also, do you think it's easier for you to address men because you know them better, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. And I think or I know from clients I'm working with that there's many men out there who are waiting for that invitation, like, hey, here's another man. And I think I'm quite emotionally available, so they feel that also, yeah, that there's not like, okay, I'm just gonna be competitive with you. You know what many men have is that struggle that they actually want to talk to a man, but often there is not enough emotional awareness and this kind of competition vibe, right?
Yes.
And I think this is kind of one of the qualities that I have, that people in general and men in particular feel safe to just share all their life story with me. It happened to me like many years in my life, when I was traveling, for instance, when I was not on that path of being a therapist, just people, like I was hitchhiking, for instance, yeah, and just people randomly sharing the most intimate things with me, just probably because they felt safe doing that. And this is kind of why I chose to do what I'm doing. Yeah.
And thank you for doing that.
I get that answer. I get that answer so many times from women when they ask me, Flo, hey, what are you doing? I'm a men therapist. Like I do men's work. And they're like, oh, thank you so much. You know? I get that answer a lot. Yeah.
It's so important. And it's the point to my next question, because your purpose, you said, is to empowering men to create fulfilling relationships by mastering their emotion. Why is this important to you?
Why is it important to me?
according to you?
According to me, okay. Why I chose this topic for myself, or why I think it's important to share that with the world?
Why is this important to share this with the world?
Okay. I feel in the collective, like in the whole world right now, there's a shift happening where people come more together. And the old patterns of I have to do everything by myself, they are breaking. And that's a good thing. But many people are just lost because they want to connect deeper on the heart level. Many men, they are ready. They want to have like intimacy with their partner. And I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about intimacy, like being vulnerable, being seen, and being authentic. And they just don't know how. So because they don't know even with themselves. That is basically the problem, or let's say the condition I had many years ago, like being so cut off, just completely in the head. I wanted to share my emotions, but I wasn't even aware of them myself. And then women report like having this robot boyfriend, or like a wall or a stone and all this. And that's not comfortable for anyone. And to use your girlfriend or wife or partner as a substitute therapist is very toxic. Yeah, it's happening many times that women take that emotional support role in the relationship because men just don't know how to do it. Yes. And that ends up in a kind of therapist-client dynamic when you actually want to be on the same level as partners, and everyone owning their own stuff, right? Yes. So I think it's a very important work, like, because basically why men come to me is that they're struggling in their relationship. They just want to have better sex. They want to have more understanding. They want to have just safety, like feeling actually welcome in the relationship, and that their partner is also happy with the way they perform. And and they are slightly aware of, or they become aware of it through working with me, that they have to start here with this guy, with themselves, and I call it like opening the heart, connecting with the emotions. Yes. I can also share a little bit about how I do that later if you want. Yeah, a little bit more the details of my program that is very different to what most people do out there. But yeah, maybe we have time for that later. I don't want to talk too much about this one.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I wanted to explore more with you is also that when you were sharing this, you talked about, yes, relationships, it's the final goal, but the first step is more to connect with the relationships with themselves. And that is very interesting. So maybe you can share, like you just said, how do you do this work? How do you help men connect to their emotions? Maybe it's about the tools you use, the mindset shift you do, but yes, how do you do that?
So the key for men to get out of the head, or for people in general, but I work with men, so I'm saying men, is to do something else instead. And this something else is connecting with the body, with the sensations. Because men are trained as soldiers in the society. We are trained to numb out, to disconnect from our bodies, and to just, follow orders and follow the program. So being a good worker, being a good hardworking man means going to work every day, same time, coming back, not crying at work, just like going through life without having any emotions, right? And I kind of lost the question. Oh, sorry. Can you
How do you proceed to help men connect with themselves, with their emotions?
Yes. So emotions are very subjective. So for you, sadness feels different than for me. For you, anger feels different than for me. It is kind of the bridge between the mind and the body when we connect certain sensations. So let's say for me, sadness, for instance, can feel like I have a heaviness on the heart. I maybe have some cramping in my stomach. maybe I feel like contracting, or I feel cold, or I feel like my eyes are watering, and all these sensations, they don't have a label, right? When an animal is crying, and they do that as well, they don't think like, oh, am I sad now, or am I crying because I'm in love? Or they just do it. So through getting out of the mind and connecting with the body, that's the first step to open up to the emotions. And it's really like starting from scratch for most. Yeah, I've many men that are either disconnected completely from sadness, or they are completely disconnected from anger, from empowerment. And they just don't know that they have this feeling. Literally, they come to me and they say like, I'm never angry. Like, okay, interesting. Let's work together and let's see about that. Or I cried the last time 10 years ago when my mother died. Like, all right, interesting. But it means that that there's something shut down, right? It's just not really realistic that the person is never feeling sad or never feeling angry. Basically, what happens is the disconnection from the physical body. Yeah, it's kind of evolutionary. It was kind of necessary, you know, like when you think about wars and tribes and all this, and men had to fight. It's not really beneficial to be really connected with your sensations when someone is cutting your arm off and stuff like that. So it's in the program still that it is safer to be numb and to just be able to perform. Yeah, I call it the performance mindset of men, than being actually connected with your heart. And it's all about the mix, you know. I mean, no one wants a hyper emotional person that is unable to function. That's kind of the other extreme, you know, when we are just like pushed around by our emotions, which sometimes happens for people who start connecting with the emotions. They're just unable to work, unable to focus for a while, because they need to integrate that softness, that vulnerability aspect of themselves. And then from being super hard with themselves to being super soft with themselves, they kind of pendulate in the middle, so they are able to do both. So yeah, that is one thing. Like just slowly, session by session, week per week, reconnecting with the physical sensations. Okay. And I mentioned already that I work as a hypnotherapist, which involves trance. So yeah, basically laying on your back, like in bed, and you close your eyes. And already like closing the eyes helps a lot. Like if I ask you right now, how are the sensations in your right index finger? You might have a hard time. Yeah, but if I tell you close your eyes, feel your hand, and tell me what are the sensations in your finger, you're gonna be much more aware to feel that, right?
Yes, it's true.
So yeah, so through having that safe space, guiding people into trance, it's much easier to connect with the body. And another thing that is very crucial to my work is trauma release. So maybe a few words about what trauma is. Trauma is nothing more and nothing less than a beautiful protection of your body when you are overwhelmed in a situation that is threatening to you. So instead of feeling what you would normally feel in that situation, you save it, you store it in your body and in your head for later. And ideally, that's what happens in the animal kingdom. The threat is gone, you know, the lion, the tiger is gone, and you release the trauma immediately. That's what antelopes do. That's what animals do, right? The predator is gone, and they freak out, you know, they have these crazy movements. They release the pain from their bodies when it's safe. And it's really cool that we have that as humans as well. The only problem is that no one is telling us how to release that stuff. And so the good and the bad thing, or like just the thing that the world works, is that it's not going to disappear by itself, right? People have traumas from 20 years ago, from 30 years ago, from it doesn't matter how long ago. Because a little bit the technical part, yeah, you have the hippocampus like pretty much in the back of your head, and we humans, we have that profile, and like the monkeys, they don't have that, but we have that intellect, that prefrontal cortex, and our society is designed in a way that we only stay here. And when you pass by the amygdala, which is kind of the watchdog of the hippocampus, then you can go to the hippocampus and you can access these old memories and these old emotions and clean your system. Yeah, and that's what is called trauma release. So that might be crying, screaming, shaking, whatever the person needs to release it. And through letting go of these old emotions that are bottled up for decades sometimes, you come back to a kind of neutral space where you are like, okay, now I released all that old sadness and that old anger and that old fear and whatever it is, and I can actually be more present in the here and now, because now it's actually safe. Yeah. Because in everyday life, when you're not in a state of hypnosis, it's very difficult to get past the rational mind and to be actually able to access these memories. It's kind of even impossible. Yeah. So yeah, that's a very important part, like letting go of the old emotions to be able to be more present in the here and now. And all these are, like, that would be a whole new topic to talk about, but all this is connected with limiting beliefs as well. So the core of my work is working with emotions directly and with the beliefs that are connected with these emotions.
Oh, it's so interesting to learn about all of this. So thank you very much. And when you talk, there was something that I was thinking about. You said men are disconnected most of the time with their emotions. So you talked about the history, being in war, etc. And I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, why are men, and especially men, because women are more open to be connected to their emotion, it depends, but most of the time, why are men so disconnected to these? And also, do you think that there is also a cultural impact on it? So maybe an historical impact, maybe a cultural impact. So what is your opinion about why men are so disconnected to their emotions?
Yeah, it's many aspects. Certainly historical parts of the role of what it means to be a man. Like, I remember my grandpa telling me, like, if he was crying, his father was just slapping him, for instance, like these kind of things, and then you pass them on to the next generation. That is one thing, one big thing. Hollywood as well, right? Like the typical cliche of the macho man. So let's be honest, there's not, I mean, it's getting more and more, but traditionally there's just not so many role models of how a man can be in a healthy way connected to his emotions. That is one thing. And then I'm still figuring out that part, like what is physiologically, biologically different between men bodies and women bodies. But there is definitely more of a limit to access emotions for men. Like for us, it's kind of more of a conscious choice. Like when we are able to connect with emotions, it's more like, okay, I feel there's something coming, or like that. Let's speak about me. That's how I perceive it, and many of my clients. Yeah. So like, okay, I can feel a sensation. There's an aching here. There's a pressure there. Whatever. I'm like, okay, there is some sadness that wants to be expressed. Okay. So I feel the sensations. And instead of just going for it, almost every man has a switch that is like, okay, stop. And then you can process. And it's like, okay, am I safe right now to release? Is like from prehistorical times, is everyone else in the tribe right now, my children, my partner, is everyone safe? So I can be weak. So I can be vulnerable. So I can get into these emotions. So it's even biologically useful to have that filter, right? Because if all the men are crying on the floor, who's going to take care, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's first like learning how to connect with the emotion, and then also learning how to give yourself permission to release them and to know what kind of condition is feeling safe. And that's just a constant practice. I'm also still getting better and better at that. And like if I'm really feeling whatever, I'm on a plane and I'm feeling really sad because something, and I know like, okay, it's another 10 hours of flight and I really don't feel like I want to hold this, and I also want to lead by example that it's okay for a man to cry, then I just connect with it. I cry, I let it out. 5-10 minutes is done, and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's better now, and then I watch a movie or whatever. So it's really about just mastering that, not being afraid of yourself. And another thing that I want to bring up that is connected again with Hollywood and history and the stereotype role models, that the way we feel and the way we perceive our value is very connected.
Okay.
So oftentimes when we are, let's take sadness again. Yeah. When we are feeling sad one day, it's okay. But when we feel sad like a full week, like every day, then oftentimes there's this like, am I a burden now to people and they like me less? So the topic of shame is coming in, right? So maybe we have even like a severe depression, right? So maybe for a couple of months, we are just not feeling good. And then the label of I'm not feeling good, so people perceive me as not valuable person, that's really painful. So the tendency of suppressing these emotions to create an ego shell that for yourself, yeah, it's not even like we all know that we love authentic people, right? But because of childhood story, how teachers treat you, how parents treat you and all that, having that shell of this is acceptable if I present myself like this, and this is not acceptable, right? And there's so many coping mechanisms. I could get into detail here, you know, like the clown, for instance, a person that is always making jokes, never sad, never angry, just like on the party and like, yeah, you know, I learned this new joke and you have this funny thing and whatever. So they compensate that they're actually disconnected from themselves by just joking around. Or there's the other person, like the kind of always happy person, you know, like, how are you? Yeah, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great. Like just every day the same, you know, like, no, I'm not feeling anything else. I'm just happy to be here. Just to give two typical examples of how we mask, how we pretend to be someone we are not, because we think, we believe, yeah, it's all about beliefs, as I said earlier. We believe that we are more acceptable when we are not ourselves, when we are creating a mask on the outside.
But why is this so specific to men? Because for instance, women, we may think that, some women at some point, but it's not, we are more open to just let go our emotions. But why are men so attached to, they will think that I'm a burden if I'm sad for more than 2 days, for example?
Mhm.
Why do you think
Yeah.
it's so specific to men?
Yeah, what comes to me again is the lone wolf syndrome. Like, just take a bathroom in a restaurant.
Okay.
When women meet in a restaurant bathroom or on a disco or whatever, they're connecting with each other. They're supporting. That's at least what I hear. I've never been in a women's bathroom, but what you hear from the people I connect with and in the movies, right? It's like, oh, can I borrow your lipstick? And your shirt looks amazing, or whatever. Like, women, they do compliments and they connect. You know how it is in a men's bathroom.
Maybe
you
you
don't
can
talk.
share with her.
You don't talk. You know, you just go to your pissoir. You don't look left and right because someone else could have a bigger penis, and then you just pee and you pretend no one else is there, and then you wash your hands and you go back out. So there's a lot of competition, between men historically. I mean, now it's also changing, and I'm also doing men's circle and men's group work to create a brotherhood, you know, like that men can really experience that support from each other. It's a very important work as well. And but it's relatively new, I would say, or like many men have still the struggle with that, because if you have that belief that everyone is doing lone wolf, so you have to do lone wolf as well.
Okay.
And when it's about competition, then being vulnerable is not exactly clever, right? Because the moment there's a bunch of men and one of them is being vulnerable and everyone is competition, he's the easy target, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of historically and yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The
Uh,
reason.
yeah. It's also depend maybe about the feelings that are being expressed. For example, you were talking about sadness, but maybe angriness is something okay to relieve. To be angry, to be very like testosteronic. So I think that maybe there is also the kind of feeling that are accepted and some other that are not permitted. What do you think about that?
Definitely, like the tendency is that anger is more allowed for men and sadness is more allowed for women.
Yes.
But this is also changing, you know, like me included, I was completely shut down from anger. I didn't experience any anger for most of my life because it wasn't safe. I wasn't encouraged to do that, or I was punished when I was angry as a child. And yeah, let's say the highest form of anger, we talk about rage, you know, when you're able to kill someone, when you're able to destroy something in front of you, just punching as long as it's until it's broken. This kind of animalistic form of anger is very frowned upon because it can be destructive if you release it in an unsafe way. So we see Hollywood movies from the US, you know, where like some man is jealous because the girlfriend was cheating and like he starts destroying the whole place. Why are these things happening? Because there is no healthy way of releasing it. And for instance, men or people in general who go to martial arts, yeah, who go to boxing class, who just let that beast out in a safe space, because it's part of our bodies over like millions of years. We needed to be physically strong and able to fight and ready to use all that adrenaline, all that testosterone, all that energy that is inside our bodies. And when you know, like you wake up in the morning, you have your coffee, you check your phone, you go to the tram, you drive to work, you sit in a chair, you answer emails. And when you do that, like for a couple of years, all this stress, all this physical stress that is accumulated in your system, which is designed to be released through like sweating, you know, like running, punching something, doing push-ups, doing really like heavy things with your body to calibrate, to come back to neutrality, then diseases start. Yeah, then people get like high blood pressure.
Yes.
Because the adrenaline is accumulating and all these different, let's say, diseases that we have in the so-called developed Western world. So yeah, but your question was like about certain emotions. Yeah, that's exactly what I said earlier.
You explain it very well.
Like, yeah, like there's always, you create your ego, right? You create an idea of what you are, like how you want to present yourself, because you learn to believe that this is cool and people are happy when you're like this, and this is not cool because people are gonna reject you when you're like that.
Yes.
So the topic of shame is very, very crucial when it comes to that.
Okay. And so what does it change when a man is fully connected to his emotion, but in a healthy way, like you, for example? So what does it change for a man?
What does it change? Everything. Let's say, let's take anger, because we are speaking about sadness so much. And also I just want to mention for all the men who are listening, it's not rocket science to connect with emotions. There's not that many different emotions. It's not like that we have 100 different emotions. There's core emotions like sadness, anger, fear and shame, and they have subcategories, but I'm not going to get into detail here now, but it's not rocket science. It's not that you have to study like 100 books to understand all the possible emotions that you can have, right? It's quite basic. So, and there's also not just being neutral and being outrageous. You can imagine like a wheel on a radio, like a volume wheel.
Yes.
And let me ask you a question, Tracy. What is the benefit of anger? Why do we have it?
The benefit of anger?
Yeah.
I think it's like the benefit of all emotion. It's because we feel and we have to, we embody the situation and then we release it. But I don't know if it's answer to your questions. I don't think
I mean,
so.
that's a very genuine question, and it's also true what you're saying, but specifically angry. Like, why are you getting angry in situation? Take a random situation, why are you angry?
I think that for me, most of the time is because of frustration. When I'm frustrated about something, I may get angry about it because it's a question of, I think it's a matter of control, because I want to control this situation. I can't control it. I'm getting frustrated, and then it makes me angry.
Okay.
Is it the answer? I don't know.
It's definitely part of the answer. So in my system, let's say, frustration is a lower form of anger. It's the same energy. If you imagine a color, let's say you have that different colors, let's say red, red is the color for the anger. So when we tune that up like a little bit from neutral like up, then we feel maybe frustrated, then we start getting a little bit pissed, not just frustrated, then we start getting angry, then we start getting outrageous, and on some point we are ready to kill, let's say, like the whole escalation ladder. But it is the same energy. It is the same thing, just in a smaller dose, It's like the same with any emotion, like, for instance, I tell you a joke and you're like, okay, so it's a little bit funny. Or I tell you a joke and you're like crying and on the floor and oh my God, my belly is hurting. Oh my God. This is the same energy. Maybe I don't know what the color is for you for the happiness and for the humor, but maybe not red, right? So, but you can imagine a wheel and blue, and you turn it up and down. And and then there's, what is the reason for all this? Like there's still my mathematical brain who likes to explain things. So why do we have anger? Two reasons. Number one, so we understand ourselves and our boundaries.
Okay.
So it's a good thing we have anger. If you wouldn't have that red energy, let's call it red, or self-protection energy, you wouldn't know what you want in life.
Right, yeah.
You wouldn't have any sense of direction, or this feels light and good, and this feels heavy and I don't like it, right? If I offer you something, let's say vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream, you choose.
Okay, let's take vanilla.
Vanilla. So why did you choose vanilla?
I prefer vanilla.
Yes, you prefer it. So your sense of self, your boundaries are just you. There's nothing to discuss about it. Why do I like, I'm sitting in front of a rice field. I'm just looking at, I can just turn the camera for a moment. It's just all green and quiet here. So we can have a proper recording while I'm sitting on the terrace. Why I prefer this to being in a city when there's other people who love the hustle, other people like love to live in Paris, for instance, and in crowded places. For me, it's a nightmare. But this is nothing to analyze. I can tell you what I like about it, but the reason that I like it, there is just no other reason, but it's me. It's me and my boundaries, right?
Okay.
So that sense of self, to know yourself, requires anger. It's the same energy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, men that I'm working with who are shut down in their anger, they say like, I don't feel angry ever. And I ask them, do you want vanilla or chocolate? They say, I don't know.
Okay.
They don't know.
Okay.
And so just let me finish that point. So number one, you know yourself through your body telling you, I like this, or no, I don't like that. And when you have that reaction of like, I don't like that, then you feel a boundary is violated.
Okay.
Yeah. For instance, some random person in the street comes to you and like goes into your hair, and you're like, I don't like that, right? I don't like when random people do that. So you activate the anger. Or it's not the anger activates itself. It's not you doing it. It's just your reaction to it.
Yes.
So again, knowing yourself and your boundaries is the first step, and being able to protect these boundaries is the second reason why we have anger. Yeah, knowing what you want and being able to secure it.
Okay.
So
So,
it's a very powerful thing to have, very necessary.
okay, so I understand very well that when we understand our emotion and not even understand, but just master them, let them be, etc., it helps us being more connected to us, to know what are our boundaries, to know what we like, we don't like, and it's just a self connection. Just okay, very interesting, and thank you very much for this. And what does it change for women when a man is connected to his emotion, or maybe for women or in general in the relationship, because you said that the purpose is to be in more fulfilling relationship.
I mean, you are the woman here, so maybe you can answer that better than me. What does change for you, like when a man is actually connected with his heart?
I think we can go in a deeper relationship because he knows himself better. He's more connected. He will express it. I will understand, and it creates links. We can talk about it. We can go deeper and deeper, and I think it creates some bonds that are very strong, and that it's getting stronger and stronger.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, from my personal experience and that of many clients, like your level of emotional awareness and your level of presence are very linked.
Also,
So yeah, and the level of pleasure when it doesn't have to be sexually, but just the pleasure of being with someone, the more present you are, like not only with a person, like anything you do in life, right? That this is why we have meditation practices throughout the centuries. Like the more present you are with something, let's say I give you that vanilla ice cream that you want, right?
okay.
And I tell you, this is 100 euro vanilla ice cream. I brought it all the way from Bali to you because it's the most famous place for vanilla ice cream in the world. Yeah, and you're gonna be like, okay, turn off the music, close your eyes, and like really taste it and feel it, right?
Yes, appreciate it.
And yes, and if it's a good vanilla ice cream, you're gonna really appreciate it through your level of presence, right? Slowing down, being present with it. And when you are on the street and you're just like rushing out of McDonald's and you're like, ah, fuck, I have like 5 minutes till my next meeting, and I want something sweet, and you grab a vanilla ice cream, and while you're like walking to the street trying to not be overrun by cars, and you eat that vanilla ice cream, you're not present at all.
Okay.
And yeah, and you are not enjoying it to the fullest potential that it has. And when we take that vanilla ice cream as a partner, kind of in the analogy, like the more present you can be with yourself, the more in alignment, the more authentic you can be with yourself, the more open you can be with a partner or with another person. Right? If you're afraid of yourself, of the truth that you have, because you learn to pretend, to people please, to be in a certain way that you think is more accepted than the actual you, like if you have no idea who you are, how should your partner know who you are?
Yeah.
So we talk about trust, we talk about vulnerability, we talk about intimacy, the word I described, intimacy, being seen for who you are. And this requires that you know who you are yourself. Otherwise, you look outside and like maybe your partner is guessing right, like, Tracy's like this or Flo is like this. And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe, but you actually maybe don't even know yourself.
Yeah.
And then another part of it is when you don't master your own emotions or you're disconnected from your own emotions as a man, how should you understand the emotions of a woman? Right? And
Yes.
it's even what we reject, that's a universal principle, not only for relationships, in any kind of social setup. What you are rejecting in other people is always what you reject in yourself. So when you have a partner who is like always straight face, and you're emotional and tells you, oh, come on, you're always crying. Like, why are you so sad? Like, there's no reason to cry right now. All these projections are that your sadness is triggering his sense of sadness. That's called empathy, right? You feel something and I can relate to it. Mirror neurons, we call it in the brain. But if I don't allow myself to feel sad, for instance, which many men have, living with a person who expresses sadness is a threat.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly triggered in the fact that you have to suppress it. Like if you're around people who are equally numb as you, who don't feel, then there's no danger, right? That's why so many guys hang out with other guys who are equally numb. They just drink beer in the bar and they don't have emotions and they're completely feeling safe because there is no exposure to something that they are afraid of.
Yeah. If I have one word I can I remember with all this conversation, I think, is the fact of being safe. Being safe about your emotion, being safe in your relationship, being safe about expressing it, being safe with yourself. And it's, in my opinion, the work you are doing to help men being safe with themselves and being safe with what they feel and how to express it. And the finality is with who you express it and how. It's my understanding of all that you said is really this word, yeah, safety.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a person who doesn't know their own boundaries, how can they be safe for other people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Flo, for all of what you shared. It's really so deep and interesting. Is there anything else you want to share?
Maybe how people can reach me.
Yes, of course. About emotion.
About,
Maybe if there is something else you wanted to share, and of course, where we could
about
find.
emotion. Yeah, just like as an encouragement, maybe to other men who are listening. Like when we imagine this kind of V shape, yeah, and of the polarity of life. And we can start at the bottom, yeah, where the two hands come together. This is where I was many years ago and where many people are. Numb, unable to feel anything.
Yeah.
So you don't feel the pleasure, you don't feel the pain, you don't feel happy, you don't feel sad, you just don't feel. You're in the bottom of the triangle.
Okay.
And through working your way up in the spectrum, you're gonna feel more. And it's a reality that we live in that has polarity. We can see that, you know, you look in the media, there is not only positive things, there's a lot of negative things that we can see there. So it kind of balances each other out in the human experience. So, and I can just encourage everyone and every man to do that journey of opening up, because ultimately, like if we take the metaphor of the ocean, of the sea. Yeah. Like I personally choose, I don't want to stand at the shore and just watch the waves, you know, like being numb, like, yeah, there's a wave. I don't like, I'm not touched by it, right?
Yeah.
It's just a wave. I can look at it and my mind says, there's a wave. I also don't want to be in the wave and just tossed around, you know, and like not having any control and like, oh my God, like I have to cry like for 2 hours and like, I don't know what's happening to me, like being on the other side, like completely lost. You know, I also work with men who are not numb, but who are just lost with their emotions because they don't know how to control it. Let's say someone who's coming out of ayahuasca or some kind of crazy psychedelic trip, and they open up for the first time their emotional centers, and they have no idea how to handle that. Yeah, because you're juggling with explosives, and all of a sudden the heart is like wide open, and that's also another extreme. So the standing at the shore watching the wave, or being completely tossed around by it, both is not really cool, right? And what I offer is the third option: learning how to ride the wave, learning how to surf it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So that's the mastering. That's mastering emotions, like not being tossed around by it, but being able to ride the waves. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that, and thank you for all your sharings. It was really interesting, and I really love having this conversation with you.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And so if men or women maybe, but mostly men, hear this conversation and want to know more about you, want to work with you, how do we do?
Yeah, the easiest way is Instagram. Yeah. The Instagram handle I have is the men therapist, like one word, the men therapist.
I would put the link in the description.
And then of course I'm always happy for conversations, so you can send me direct message or you can just book a free session with me straight away. You have always this one link in Instagram in the bio. And if you click on that link, you go to a calendar. You can choose a date and a time, and you will get an email with an automatic Zoom link, and then we can talk in person and speak about what are your goals, what are your struggles, and I can explain more in detail how the work I do works and see if that is a fit or not. Yeah, so that first call is always free for everyone. Because I also need to check in, like, do I want to work with this person or not, right? Because I also don't work with everyone. Like, I really need to feel that someone's ready to do that work. Yeah. So, but the invitation is there. Like, feel free to reach out on Instagram anytime, and either for questions or for a free session. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will put all the links in the description, so you can just click on it on your platform where you're listening. And thank you, Flo. Thank you for everything, for your time, and for all of these really interesting and impacting topic you brought today. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hope to